plenty more. As spawning in the top left-hand corner of Dragon Scales, we have the best Protoss player in all of Poland, representing Team Liquid. It is MaNa. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Dragon Scales, we have as opponent, we have the Italian Zerg player representing Team Basilisk. It is Reynor. And for some updates, it does seem as if MaxPax vs Oliveira is going on, I believe, on Wardy's channel. So, you know, they're going to be covering a bit of a different series, but we know what we want, and we want the PvZ. Oh, the PvZ, Sparky. Let's go. I'll be honest, I haven't casted MaNa in quite some time. I mentioned it earlier, but here on the CranKy Ducklings, we mainly cast Korean players, we mainly cast Latin Americans, North Americans, Southeast Asians. European matches and players are something that we're a little bit more rare, on this channel, just because of our time zone. We're usually asleep for a lot of the European events, which is why we always cherish the Europeans whenever we do get to cast them, whenever we do get to bear witness to them here. We get to have a lot of fun in WTL, for example, and KungFu Cup, because the prize pool is so large, the best of the best show up here. Not just Hero and Maru and Bjorn and Dark, not just the Koreans, but also Cyril, Reynor, MaxPax as well. Like the best, and Clem, the best Europeans also show up in this weekly tournament, just because there's so much money on the line. It brings everyone over. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun to watch the regions clash in such a manner, to watch players rise, to watch players fall as well. And we'll see how this all does come to pass. Again, Reynor has been on fire recently, maybe not having the most successful ESL Masters run, but you could argue that that was because of a bit of a different matchup instead. And again, MaNa, despite being arguably the best Protoss in his country, which is under contention, you know, there's Geralt, there's Christiana, there's all these other young up-and-coming Polish Protoss players out there. I do think that MaNa is still the top dog, or still at least contest for that spot. But how does he compare to the rest of the region? Already an interesting opener here. A gate expand, which is normal, but MaNa is going to be going for a Robo first, not a Stargate or a Twilight Council. Very interesting. Meanwhile, across the map, we did see MaNa just delaying the third base for a couple of seconds. The Lings are going to be able to clean that up, and the third is now on the way for Reynor. But this Robo opener could lead to a couple of different things. This could be for a fast robotics bay for a disruptor drop, or even a Colossus drop if we wanted to go in that direction. We could throw down 2 more gateways, and we could go for some 3-gate aggression, which is very out of fashion, and I haven't seen that in quite some time. So I'm expecting a fast bay, I'm expecting a fast disruptor, but we'll see what MaNa has in store for us. Across the map, Adept is going to be threatening that base. Meanwhile, there we go. There's the bay. Again, this should be for a Prism or Prism Speed. If we want to go full NA, we can go for a Colossus drop instead, which we have seen a couple of Europeans and a couple of Koreans whip out every now and then, but not as common as disruptor drops. Like, I feel like the Colossus is more risky, especially because ideally you have to invest into extended thermal lance as well, instead of disruptor speed. What? Instead of warp prism speed, so it does take a lot longer to get into. It's not as ideal, not as efficient, I should say. As Reynor is none the wiser. That's why I love this opener from MaNa, because it's so out of left field. It's so off meta as well. So commonly we have Glaive Adept openers, or DT openers, or Stargate into a third base, right? And I'm sure that's what Reynor is waiting for. He's going to be looking to, you know, apply some pressure. He's keeping an eye on the would-be third base. The Stalker has been revealed, and so has the Prism, but this doesn't scream Robo opener. This could still be a DT opener, for example, as the Overlord is being shut down. Meanwhile, there is that Disruptor on the way. Lings are being rushed out by Reynor. He's throwing down a Roach Warren at around the 4... he threw it down at around the 4-minute mark, so a very acceptable timing for the Roach Warren. He's cutting workers here early at 37, so he's expecting aggression nonetheless, and he's getting ready for it. Again, whether it's Glaives, whether it's Archons or DTs, Reynor is getting ready. Spores are on the way as well, just in case it is DTs. Meanwhile, the Lings do confirm a third base, and this is very unexpected. Oh, we get a full surround, and oh, that's a kill! Not a cancel. MaNa a little bit slow to react there. not a good start for MaNa. Now the pressure's on him to deal some damage. He does have 2 disruptors now. He's going to be moving out across the map. But these disruptors, they have to kill a mineral line at this point. They have to do so much damage, and Reynor's getting ready back at home. He's re-droning now that he knows that it's not an all-in. Now that he knows that his opponent is expanding, so he's aware that a push isn't really coming his way. Disruptors have arrived. Nova's going to be going off with a splits are real, and only 1 queen goes down. Very nice splits there out of Reynor. MaNa, I mean, at least the disruptors are still alive, of course. They can still get value over time, but 400 minerals down the drain, you know? It's a rough loss. Rough loss. Oh. As you do see the disruptors just diving on forward as well. Again, MaNa, he is desperate for damage, forced to recall. The Prism barely does survive. And at least we have 2 disruptors. At least we have a Colossus as well. Like, the units that we have available are quite powerful and quite good. It's just our economy that is really hurting. And Reynor is free to saturate his 3rd, get a 4th base if he wants to. The world is Reynor's oyster. He's going for another link counterattack, and hopefully this time we get a cancel and not a kill. As MaNa is sending everything he has across the map as we speak. There's that full surround. We're warping in a couple of zealots to try and defend, and it looks like we may be able to hold on at the same time. We're focusing on the main fight. Good force fields here on these queens. Novas are going to be going up, but once again, the splits are too good. Only 1 queen goes down. Meanwhile, hopefully that was a cancel. No! That was a kill. Not a cancel for the 2nd time. 800 minerals down the drain. Alas, just like how we were focusing on watching the fight here, MaNa was also focusing on watching the fight as well, and was unable to get a cancel on that 3rd base. Now Reynor has so much momentum. He's rushing across the map. Behind this, MaNa goes for triple Stargate into mass Phoenix production, which is wild. And I don't know how well that'll work against the wave of roaches coming across the map. Here we go. The roaches have arrived. They're looking to split up here and pull apart the attention of MaNa. Disruptors are being dropped, and this time the splits were a little bit late, so a decent Nova. The 2nd one not so much, but a good chunk of roaches have gone down. 5 roaches in total, but the wall is not a wall. The roaches, they just waltz their way into the natural. We do see MaNa just completely out of position. The Phoenixes have been revealed, and my god, that is a lot of Phoenixes. The workers are going down. Thankfully, this time we do have a cancel on the 3rd base. Not a kill this time, but what is being killed are all these probes, as 21 workers have gone down and counting as well. Reynor is going to be pulling back with the rest of his army. He has to respect the amount of Phoenixes that are out. Again, 6 Phoenixes, that's a lot of Phoenixes. MaNa's main army is still looking pretty terrifying. He kept his Colossus alive, he kept his Disruptors alive. His army supply isn't looking too bad. MaNa may just be forced to go for an all-in, and if Reynor gets caught droning, he's going to be in trouble. Thankfully, he's been making army. He's been making more roaches, more ravagers, more lings, as he's going for another counterattack, another run by. Oh no, the wall has never been a wall. The lings flood into the natural, into the main base as well, and if MaNa wasn't all in before, he is all in now. Decent purification Novas, but they only get 1 queen. Force fields are going to zone away the army of Reynor, but Reynor, he knows that he just needs time. You can give up a base, you can give up a 4th, you can give up a 5th, you can give up a 5th base as well. We just need to rebuild our army. Lings are diving on forward. The Ravager piles are looking to attempt to connect. Ooh, big Nova does go off on the Ravagers. And the Colossus is standing, but GG gets called. Reynor will take game number 1. GG. Ooh. Yeah, the Link counterattacks were insane, and they were pulling apart the attention of MaNa. And we saw a couple of slip-ups here and there, like the kill on the Nexus twice. That did hurt me. Like I'm not even a Protoss player, but yeah, seeing that happen was a little bit brutal, and it's difficult to come back, or almost impossible to come back from that situation. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter if you're Hero or Max Packs or Classic or Showtime. losing 2 bases like that, throwing 800 minerals down the drain like that, it's almost impossible to come back from that situation. Like, your economy is just so stifled, your production as a result is stifled, your army as well, like, just everything gets slowed down. And with that, GG, we're going to be moving on to game number 2. Catching up in the chat. Poor MaNa, that would make me smudge. I'm smudging for him, Bobby. I'm smudging for him. But here he is spawning in the top left-hand corner of Babylon. We have the Polish Protoss player, arguably the best Protoss in all of Poland, representing Team Liquid. It is MaNa. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Babylon, we have his opponent. We have the Italian Zerg player representing Team Basilisk. It is Reynor. People are asking if Reynor would off-race. I have heard that Reynor off-races in the ESL European tournaments, the EU weeklies, with mixed success. I've never seen Reynor off-race in KungFu Cup. It sounds really risky to do just because there are so many big names in this tournament. Like, I don't think Cyril plays in the EU weeklies, for example. But he plays in these KungFu Cups. You know, you've got Dark here, you've got Hero here, Björn. Would be risky, but we'll see. We'll keep an eye on him if he does end up off-racing. Does end up playing with that Protoss. For the time being, though, at least in game number 2, main races all around. Hatch gas full opener from Reynor, forced to take the unnatural natural. Everything's looking quite normal. But I guess our eyes are on MaNa. We saw him go for a very peculiar opener last time. We saw him go for a robo opener into a disruptor drop. Not very common in current meta and designed to catch your opponent off guard. And it did catch Reynor off guard, and Reynor had a mass amount of lings that he made that were kind of useless. But what did he do with them? Well, he killed the third. He killed the Nexus. He found a use for them. So Reynor was able to make water out of wine, and MaNa, unfortunately, that opener, that robo opener, never paid for itself. He got like 2, maybe 3 queens and 5 roaches with his disruptors, and maybe a Ravager towards the end. Like, we never really got the juicy connections that we needed to make that pay for itself, especially after that third base went down. It's a really risky way to play, going for a robo opener like that. High risk, high reward, as you can imagine. And I imagine that if you're a player up against Reynor, more often than not, you're going to be looking to take risks. You're going to be looking to go for these off-beat and off-meta builds just because Reynor is so favored. And there is, of course, that chance that you can catch Reynor off guard and maybe even cause an upset, as MaNa is not stopping on the aggression. He's going for a Twilight Council opener. Not a robo like last game, but it's not a Stargate, so it's not macro-oriented. We'll keep an eye on the gateway count. We'll see how many gates get thrown down for MaNa, and if he throws down a robo with this as well. We are on Babylon. The Rush-resistant spy ground is relatively short on this map, so I wouldn't be surprised if he skips the robo and throws down 4 more gates. But we'll see. For the time being, we only have 2 gateways. Twilight Council is about to finish up. There is no robo until now. There it is. Glaives has started up for MaNa. Meanwhile, 2 Adepts do shade across the map, and they commit to the shade. They're going to be able to pick off a couple of these drones. 2 drones go down. Can we get a third? It looks like we should get a third, and even a 4th drone. 4 drones for 2 Adepts. Not too bad here for MaNa. Not a bad job at all. Meanwhile, across the map, we do have that gateway explosion that we were expecting. 3 gates on the way, alongside the 1 that's already done. So 4 gates in total. And this is pretty tame. 4 gates, you can throw down a base behind this. It is not all in by any means. It's designed to apply pressure, to deal some damage, and to keep the Zerg player back at home while you eventually take a third. So we'll see how committed MaNa is going to be with this, and we'll see how careful he'll be with his Adepts as well, as he's keeping a couple of Adepts back. I love this. He's intentionally hiding from that Overlord, but the Overlord is going in that direction, and it will spot the additional Adepts. Reynor is aware. We already have that Roach Warren on the way. He's cutting workers at 37, just like last game. Cutting workers at 37 drones, and making nothing but lings, queens, and getting ready for the roaches. So just like last game, a great response. The Overlord will eventually see everything, sees additional gateways, and the Twilight Council as well. So Reynor is aware roaches are being produced. The first wave of adepts are arriving, but the queens are already here to meet them. So far, good control. We're not really losing too much from the side of our Zerg player. Another wave of adepts are coming in, but again, MaNa has to be very careful with these shades. Doesn't want to commit. Doesn't want to get surrounded by these lings. MaNa will back off. Ooh, and he's doubling down. I was really curious because he didn't pull out a gas. Typically, when you go for 4-gate Glaive Adept, you only have 2 workers in each gas geyser. But we're taking 2 more gases here at the natural. We're doubling down. We're going for a Dark Shrine. The third base is going to be delayed even further here because we're just committing to the tech. Meanwhile, MaNa heads towards the main base, is abusing the terrain a little bit. You love to see it. He's getting some more value out of these adepts. Does scout and confirm the timing of that lair. And Reynor isn't taking any chances. We have a Spore on the way in the main. We have a Spore at the third base. No Spore at the natural, but the lair's on the way, so we will have mobile detection in a couple of moments. And MaNa eventually takes his third base. Now, the third was delayed because of the Dark Shrine, so this isn't, this isn't the fastest third base that MaNa could have gone for, but he is, again, taking that risk to try to find some damage with those DTs later on. The other important thing is that MaNa didn't lose too many adepts, but, the flip side of that is that Reynor didn't lose any drones. Both armies kind of bounce off each other. MaNa not really finding too much damage, but that could all change momentarily. We have 4 DTs rushing across the map. Again, we delayed our third base for these DTs. They have to do some damage, and I don't see a Spore at the natural. I'm getting some deja vu from my own games. We have a Spore at the third, we got a Spore in the main, but no Spore at the natural. We do have the lair. Do we have any mobile detection? The answer is no for the time being. And the DTs are racing on forward here. Reynor, he sees, he knows. He morphs in Overseer immediately, but the DTs have arrived and a lot of damage is being done. 11 drones go down, basically a mineral line, and now he's going for the hatchery itself, and this hatchery is gonna go down. The Overseer isn't quite here yet. We have a couple of transfuses, but it's not enough. The base falls, and this makes it worth it for MaNa. Again, he may have had a delayed third base. His adepts may not have dealt any damage, but the DTs, the off-timing push of those, or the off-timing kind of, the offbeat timing of those DTs were able to get a lot of damage here for MaNa. And now suddenly, Reynor is in an awkward position. He lost a lot of workers. He's double expanding to try to catch back up. Roach speed is on the way. Now, what is MaNa lacking? Well, I would be concerned about a Roach counterattack, but MaNa is already working on disruptors. We have a Robotics Bay behind this. We already have 2 disruptors. No Immortals, so we're still going to be relying on Purification Novas to find detonations to defend against the Roach push. But I believe in MaNa. Meanwhile, speaking of Roach push, rocks are being knocked down. Creep is being set up as we speak. Reynor wants to go for a bit of a timing with +1 and with Roach speed. Here we go. He's going to be going and threatening that third base. But the 2 disruptors have arrived, and as long as they're at home, as long as they're in position, like these roaches, they aren't going to find too much damage. MaNa, risky move. He's moving out. This prism is so low, by the way. Oh, no! Oh, the prism is so low. Nova's going to be going off, and 1 queen goes down. Oh, my God. MaNa's playing with fire. Jesus. I guess it's kind of worth it. Does get a queen. But here is that push that we were talking about. The rocks are being knocked down. The creep highway is well underway. We have banelings, we have lings, we have roaches. And what do we have to defend? 1 shield battery. Bold move here by MaNa. Oh, sorry, 2 shield batteries. And we're getting a 3rd shield battery. Not bad, not bad. We are set up defensively. Reynor, he does see that, and he will actually back off. Oh, it looks like he wants to set up some counterattacks instead. A bit of a ling run by here on the left-hand side. The wall is not a wall! No! Oh, the Zealot gets here a little bit too late. The lings, they flood into the main. They flood into the natural as well. Oh, and at the same time as all this chaos is being caused, we do have a Roach counterattack towards the 4th base and a Baneling run by towards the 3rd. We do react in time. It looks like the mineral line should be saved. The Archon has arrived, but that fourth gets cancelled. Not killed, though. MaNa doing a decent job at keeping up, but oh, these Lings in the main base are getting a little bit out of hand. 7, 8 probes go down. Now, this could have been game-ending. This could have been game-ending damage, but MaNa has been able to hold on for the time being. Unfortunately, doesn't have a fourth. Oh god! The Novas! Oh, the Disruptors. One beautiful Nova does connect on those roaches, but that was a risky move from MaNa. Jesus. And we still don't have a fourth base behind this. As MaNa goes for the fourth, another bathing run by MaNa. Does he notice? Does he realize? No! He doesn't! Ooh. No reaction. The mineral line goes down. MaNa is suddenly all in. He has to end the game with what he has. Another Nova's going to be going off and will not connect with anything. Oh, the Disruptor goes down. MaNa a little bit slow to react, a little bit slow to respond. The Stalker's doing what they can. The Archon does get saved at least. That Prism is so low, but it looks like the Warpin will not get cancelled. Regardless, Reynor is holding. He's been able to drone up to 76 workers, rebuilding his Ling Roach Ravager army. And his win condition was just to defend because he killed so many probes earlier. And MaNa, his economy is limping along. His fourth base is so delayed. He lost his Disruptors earlier. He's dropping here with an Immortal. And GG gets called. Reynor takes game number 2 and the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. Reynor does advance on to the next round, but I do want to give a shout out. I do want to give a shout out to, as I do hop on over to the land of Asia. I do want to give a shout out to MaNa though, because he had some pretty interesting builds. Game 1 was very out of the meta and very unorthodox, going for a Robo into a Disruptor drop. And here in Game 2, hey, he dealt damage, you know? He went for initially Glaive Adepts, which didn't do too much, but he went for a sneaky Dark Shrine. He got a base, he got 11 drones. He wasn't doing too bad. And when we saw the tri-pronged attack from Reynor, when we saw Lings get into the natural, Lings into the main, Banelings towards the third, and a Roach Ravager push towards the fourth, MaNa kept his cool and he didn't lose too much. Lost the fourth, I guess. But like, he was holding his own for quite some time there, so very impressive stuff from MaNa. Wasn't enough to overcome Reynor, but was enough to make an entertaining game out of it. So GG, well played to MaNa. His tournament run has ended here in the round of 16. Sorry, round of 32. And now we move on to the next round where Reynor has an opponent waiting for him. Another Protoss, but this one is not from Europe.